Tip for using canned tomatoes in a pasta dish. If you're using canned tomatoes in a pasta dish, you can keep the juices. Canned tomato juice can just give it that extra taste.
Welcome back. This is our third session of cooking for Matthew House, and today we're making an Italian-based dish and then a Caribbean-based dish. The first dish is called hearty pasta fagioli, and what it has in it is ground beef, which in this case, through the Foodbank or Lifeline, what you get is hamburger patties. And so what I've done is crumpled it up, and we're going to use that as the ground beef item. We're going to add some carrots, celery, and onion to the recipe just to give it a bit more flavor. And then we're going to have some tomatoes, a variety of beans, and the pasta. So we're going to carry on with what we're doing. So over on your stovetop, you're going to put in the ground beef patty. And let that brown. And while that's browning, we can add our onion. This is about half of an onion. Go in. Some celery. And some carrot. And we're just going to let that cook for a few minutes. While it's cooking, I find this is a good time to add your spices so that your spices have a chance to really develop in what you're making. So what we're going to add is some pepper, and this is totally up to you. I would say probably about half a teaspoon of pepper. This meal would be quite a hearty dinner, especially in the fall or the winter here in Canada. That would warm you up and fill you up. The other spice we're going to put in is some hot sauce. And again, that's totally up to you how much hot sauce you put in. I like things a little bit spicy. I know that I've been practicing these meals on others, and there are people who don't like spice at all. So that's totally up to you what you want to do with that. We're going to let that go for a bit and just cook. And now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. So we have a variety of beans. If you don't have all these different beans, then I would just add in whatever canned beans that you get at the food bank. So those are kidney beans, pinto beans, black beans. Give it all a stir. I'm going to put in some canned tomatoes. When you're walking through the food bank, they'll always have tomatoes and tomato sauce there. It's just a staple at any local food bank to have those kind of ingredients. We're going to add our tomato sauce or spaghetti sauce in this case. Put that in. And I'm going to let that go for just a little while. And then right about 5 minutes in, we're going to add our pasta. I wouldn't add your pasta now, because if you do, you'll end up with your pasta being overcooked. So you're going to put this in when this is cooked about 5 or 10 minutes, and then it will be ready to go. So we've let that boil away for about 10 minutes. I've added a bit of oregano just to give it an extra taste of the spice. And then because we're adding pasta, as you can see as I bring it forward, it's really thick at this point. And so if you put pasta in now, there would not be enough liquid to be absorbed into the pasta. So we're going to add about 3/4 of a box of beef broth. If you don't have beef broth, I would just add water, and it would be 2 to 3 cups of water. So give that a stir. And then we're going to add our pasta. The actual recipe calls for a shell-shaped pasta. In this case, at the food bank, they didn't have that type of pasta. All they had was this, but I've used this and it works quite well. So whatever pasta, I wouldn't go for linguine, but any shell-shaped or larger-shaped pasta will work. Put that in and give it a stir. And then just let it cook for about another 10 to 15 minutes, and that's that meal. All done. The second dish that we're making today is based on a Caribbean dish, and it's called Caribbean red bean and rice. The ingredients are fairly simple. We're just using onion, some beans, any type of rice that you would like, tomatoes, some broth. We're going to add some cinnamon, nutmeg, and garlic. We're going to start this dish in a very similar way to we do many. Just a little bit of oil on your pan, not a lot. And we're just going to fry up some onions and soften them just a little bit. Again, all of these ingredients are things that you can get from the local food bank. Especially the canned goods are always there, but when you're at the local food bank here in Windsor, you'll also find that they have often a good variety of fresh produce. This is all dependent on what time of year it is, but in the fall they have plenty of peppers, squash, tomatoes, those kind of things. So always ask, if you don't see it at the food bank, if they have fresh produce to hand out for you, or in their dairy area if they have milk and eggs. The next items that we're going to add are just stewed tomatoes from a can. You do not drain the tomatoes, you put in juice and all. Now normally when you're using canned beans, such as red beans or kidney beans, you would take the beans, drain them, and rinse the sauce off. But in this recipe, they want you to keep the sauce or juice that's in the can right with the beans. So we're going to put those in. And we're going to add about a teaspoon of garlic. And again, there are many of you that have different taste buds. You might want more garlic, and feel free to add to it if you want to. We're adding about a half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Now in this case, I have whole nutmeg. You can buy ground nutmeg in any grocery store or bulk food store. This is a whole nutmeg. It's shaped like a little nut, because that's what it is. And you just have a small grater, and I'm just going to grate about half a teaspoon of nutmeg into this dish. Watch your fingers while you're doing this, because it's always possible to just catch your finger. Some nutmeg. And then we're going to add half a teaspoon of cinnamon. This is a very simple recipe. It would take very little time in the evening, especially if you have a night where you're really busy with classes or your children. This is quite quick. We're going to add a cup of broth. If while it's cooking you find that it's too thick, you can always add a little bit more broth. And then we're going to add our rice. Give it a quick stir. And that's it. Caribbean rice and beans.